And I think historically, designers were those firms or let's say celebrity type designers. Like I'm picturing Martin Short in Father of the Bride, right? Like they were well connected. Totally. That was like when decorators were really reigning supreme. And designers only served the uber wealthy, and they were very tight and close with their sources. And so that still exists in our industry today, and it's changing.
Hey everyone, it's Alex with Couch.com, and I'm here with my new friend, Rebecca Hay from Rebecca Hay Design. She is the founder and chief Rebecca officer. See?
Ooh, love it.
I just came up with a new title. And also a popular podcast host of Resilient by Design. I was a guest recently, and thank you so much again for having me there.
Amazing.
Ladies and gentlemen, Rebecca Hay, here she is.
Woohoo, yeah, woo. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Alex.
My pleasure. So we want to learn a little bit more about you. We want to qualify you a little bit as someone who is an expert in the field of interior design so that when we give some advice to the lovely users of Couch.com about how to do things like figure out what your couch style is and how to essentially all the interior design questions that couch buyers have that they need to answer for themselves before even maybe going and hiring an interior designer, and certainly before going couch shopping. So that's the goal of today's conversation. Are you up for the challenge?
Always up for the challenge. Can't wait.
Fantastic. Now, from the map behind you, it looks like you're joining us from the country of Russia. Is that the case?
Absolutely not. No. I am north of the border, though. I am in Canada.
Oh, different country. I just got confused which one. Got it.
Nice try. I know. When you put a map of the world out, you realize that Russia is a large part of it.
It's humongous. It's unbelievable.
The world, and showcasing where all of our students come from, and we can talk about that. But lots of pins in North America, no pins in Russia yet. Never know, though.
I love it. So you mentioned students. I think that's a good segue into explaining a little bit more about what you do. You're not just an interior designer, but you have a lot of sort of irons in the fire, and you're aiming to do some very interesting things in the interior design space. Please tell us about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been in interior design for over 15 years, running my own business now for 10. It's our 10th birthday this year, actually, which is exciting.
Wow.
And throughout the journey, designers kept coming to me and asking, Rebecca, can you help me with this? Can you tell me a little bit more about how you run your business? Or they would see that we were getting featured in press and doing these incredible projects. And so along the way, I started to give back to the design community, get designers together and teach and help other designers. And that's what I do today. That's what my podcast is all about, Resilient by Design. I teach designers how to run an interior design business because, let's face it, they don't teach you the business side in design school. And I have online courses, I have in-person get-togethers and meetups, but really I am serving the design community and trying to really break through some of those barriers and those myths that the interior design industry is snooty and unapproachable. And I'm really making space for designers and new designers who are looking to start or launch their design firm and grow it with confidence. And let's be honest, also be profitable. So I'm helping designers.
That's important too. Why do you think the interior design world gets such this snooty reputation or such a bad rap? Is it just like a legacy vibe that our foremothers and fathers? I don't know what the heck I'm saying. Is it a legacy vibe that former interior designers of the past have brought into the space that you and your contemporaries are trying now to shed?
Yeah, I think so. It does. The industry has shifted a lot, even in the 15 years that I've been doing it. But it really has shifted from this sense of I'm not sharing my suppliers with you. You're my competition, keeping a really tight ship, closed doors. And I think, too, there were not as many designers before. Let's face it. It has exploded. This industry has exploded. And so now really anyone can become a designer. They can go to school or choose not to go to school and have an innate talent and just start working in the industry. And I think historically, designers were those firms or let's say celebrity type designers. Like I'm picturing Martin Short in Father of the Bride, right? Like they were well connected. Totally. That was like when decorators were really reigning supreme. But there was this sort of sense of there were not that many of them, and designers only served the uber wealthy, and they were very tight and close with their sources. And so that still exists in our industry today, and it's changing, thank goodness, because I firmly believe that collaboration over competition helps everyone all day long. We are not each other's competition. There is enough work out there for all of us.
Rising tides raises all boats. I'm a big believer in that as well. And I think it's fair to say that you are, as you mentioned, students, and you told us why you have students. So you're a teacher. We also talked about the fact that interior design has become a lot more approachable. And case in point, you have agreed to come to couch.com and tell our users about certain things that they may be curious about, that they may want to hire an interior designer to discuss, but maybe they could think about these things first prior to doing that, or prior to going couch shopping, certainly. So one of the questions I think we get all the time is, okay, where do I start? First, I don't even know what style I like. Like, how do you choose a couch style? How do you guide people in that part of the process? Or do you generally do you throw some pictures in front of them? Or do you have a more existential character backstory conversation about what if their couch was a celebrity, who would it be? What methods do you use?
I wish I was that cool. I don't have a crazy system like that. I would say most interior designers don't. And I think that the consumer nowadays, the homeowner, is really more savvy than they used to be. I think because of television shows like HGTV, Pinterest, Decor magazines, Instagram, and the like, I think that homeowners are bombarded with imagery of designs and spaces and beautiful homes all the time. And I do like to give our clients or the homeowner a lot more credit, because I know that they usually come with an idea of what they like or what they don't like, but quite often they can't articulate it. And so one of the great things that you can do as a designer, and if you're working with a designer, would be to ask the designer to help guide you when it comes to design style. Like, show some pictures, like you said, Alex. I like to show a few photos if the clients are really clueless, meaning that they really don't know what they want. They know they want it to look good and that's it. And I will do this or that. And you can start to get a sense of what clients like. And so if you're the homeowner looking at images and pictures and starting to narrow it down and understand, what is it about that couch that I like? Is it that it looks so comfy and deep and I feel like I can curl up and watch a movie? Or is it that it looks like a great perch for me to sit and have a cocktail? And so it's starting to have those conversations with our clients, because let me tell you, it can be a big investment. And so we want to make sure that when we are helping and guiding our clients to select their furniture for their home, actually their couches, that they're making the right decision and we're guiding them in the right way. I don't know if that answered your question.
That makes perfect. That does. And it answers it great. And I think some really good images that you gave us were the couch that's so comfy that and it's deep and you want to curl up and watch a movie, or a cocktail perch. A couch that could act as a perch to have a cocktail on. I think I can see the difference between those two things. And I think customers generally have a lot of difficulty, and I've seen in my experience, discerning between two different types of couches. So I think starting with broad strokes and giving images to them like that, or if you're doing it for yourself, like really starting to start broad and then start to narrow in on something like a shape. Now, a shape is something that is often discussed a lot, and it's quite literally the difference between one couch and another could be like the shape of the arms. And I think customers in general, some people can see very clearly the difference between a skinny tapered arm and a rolled arm, but I don't know, like, how do you guide people in the conversation about shapes? Or what are your general thoughts about shapes and couches? Is it something we should be thinking about from the jump, or is that, I don't know, maybe I'm overstating it.
No, totally. And I love that you're asking this question, because I'm going to geek out for a second here as a designer. Okay. And designers, if you're watching, you'll appreciate this. I always say in my design firm that we are function first design, because of course we're going to make it beautiful. That's what you're hiring us for. And of course your home is going to be beautiful when you pick a stylish couch from whichever supplier. But if it doesn't function for you, then it's a total miss. And so I think it's having those conversations early on about, like I just said, what is the purpose for your couch? Those curved couches, hey, I've done them. I've put them in clients' homes and they look super fab and cool, like very trendy. but they may not be the right fit for your home if you are looking for a couch that can maximize the seating potential and you can fit 6 to 7 people, and you want your kids to be able to hang out and play video games with their friends, because a curved sofa is not a maximum use of space. And so it's really thinking about, first and foremost, how are you intending to use your couch? What is the intent? Are you going to be someone who wants to have a beer and watch the game? Maybe you want an armrest so you can rest your arm while you're holding a drink. Talking about a tapered arm versus a big square flat arm. So it's a constant balance between what appeals to me aesthetically and what really is going to function for me and my family. And oftentimes the conversations I have with clients is steering them sometimes a little bit away from what they thought they wanted because they saw it in a magazine, once I start asking questions about how they intend to use the couch or use the space.
I love it. And here's a yes or no question for you. You mentioned sitting down on the couch and watching a game with a beer. Have you, or would you ever place a couch in a design installation in a client's home that had a cup holder?
I have not done it. Would I? Is this a trick question?
No.
I'm going to say, what's the right answer? I'm going to say no. That's just a personal choice.
Not a lot of interior designers placing reclining couches with cup holders in a lot of homes, which is interesting, right? Because it does serve some purpose, doesn't it, from a design perspective? Or do you feel like it's an absolute no? If you're concerned with design.
I don't love the look of it from an aesthetic standpoint. Take that or leave it. Take it with a grain of salt. But what I would also say is think about functionality. Again, sure, it functions. You can put your glass or your beer in it, but who's going to clean it? How can you clean it? Is it removable? What happens when that beer explodes and it goes all the... These are the things that I'm always thinking about. Maybe it's because I'm a parent and I have 2 young children, but functionality when it comes to cleaning, that to me would be a no. So I would say no.
Yeah, kids are gross, and I know too from personal experience. So yeah,
totally.
Maybe you got to think twice about certain elements that you would not have originally. That's a great point. But you mentioned function a few times, and I think function is very important. You also mentioned maximizing seating space. So this is a common thing, and I've sold a lot of couches to a lot of people. And one of the sort of most basic questions that is a little bit less designy in a way and more sort of function-based is how big of a couch to get, right? Because I think if people, especially people with big families or they entertain a lot, they want to have this 10-piece modular behemoth that costs God knows how much money, but also not every room can handle such a big piece of furniture. So at some point you have to like make certain concessions. Like, okay, I often have 6 people over, but am I getting a 6 to 8 person couch or sectional? Or from a design perspective, maybe it would be better to keep some more open floor space and keep a nice flow to the room. And maybe that's more important. So how do you reconcile that for people that you've worked with in the past? And how does that conversation normally go?
Okay, this is such a common conversation, Alex. Obviously, you know that. Right. Oftentimes, clients want, or homeowners want, a sectional. Because you see it again, you see it everywhere. It looks so cozy. Wouldn't it be amazing? I can lie down. I can put my feet up. And yes, if the purpose of the sectional is for you to put your feet up with 1 other, 2 other family members and watch a movie or watch a show, great. But actually, sectionals are terrible when you're entertaining a lot of people. Because if you think about it, nobody wants to be the man in the corner, the girl in the corner. No one wants to sit in that corner. And so what we find is that when you're entertaining, consider having multiple pieces of furniture and not just one behemoth, as you call it, because it's, especially if you don't know the other people that well. Like, it's one thing if it's a kid's slumber party. It's a whole other thing if you're inviting a few couples over from the neighborhood that you've just met. And one thing I've noticed is oftentimes when we have that conversation with our clients where we say, listen, maybe a 3-seater with 2 club chairs is actually a better solution, because then you can move the furniture around. You could bring in a couple dining chairs and you can have an actual conversation where you're face to face, not side by side. It's tricky to have a conversation when you're sitting right next to the person.
That's true. You can really crane your neck.
Crane your neck.
If they're sitting, you can crane your neck. You can end up at the chiropractor. And I have a post about that too, about sitting styles on a couch. I have a chiropractor, my chiropractor, Dr. Bond. He joined me last week. Very excited about this one, but I digress. Cool. He tells us all about how to sit and how not to sit on couches.
Ooh, I'm going to listen to that one. I'm going to watch that one.
Okay, you should. We should, because we've all had, I've fallen asleep like that. We've all had these experiences. And we've all had experiences at a party where someone's sitting in that corner of the sectional, and whether their shoes are on or off, their feet are encroaching upon your personal space if you're sitting next to them and talking to them. So I'm happy that you mentioned that. But it sounds like really considering what your use is going to be of it is extremely important. And as obvious as that may sound, people don't often consider these sort of basic elements. What is my style? How much space do I have? How much will I be using this couch, and in what way will I be using it? So I love that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about colors.
Okay.
Colors are something that really throw people for a loop, right? Because when I first started in the furniture industry around 20 years ago, there was no question about what was most commonly bought. It was beiges, browns, sometimes grays, but it was mostly like neutral colored earth tone type couches. Every now and again a white one, but usually those were slip covered back in the day. And now, and I know because my company that I used to run we were bullish on all these very bold, bright, beautiful colors. We had like hot pink and bright blue and stuff like that. And I think those are great, but they also aren't always great. So how do you guide and navigate these conversations surrounding color? Do you go bold with it? Do you go neutral with it and jazz it up with some bold colors? Like, I'm sure you like color at least a little bit being a designer. So what are your thoughts on colors with couches?
It's such a common conversation, Alex. Honestly, we have this with all our clients because I'll be honest, as a designer, I do gravitate to a more neutral base palette, and then I can pop it with color with pillows, an accent chair, an area rug. And so I love a neutral sofa or a neutral couch. I love a neutral couch because it has a world of possibilities. I don't have to worry about matching it with the rug and then matching it with the pillows. However, I will say that clients often and homeowners are nervous about lighter colors, and I'm sure you've seen this, because of mess, dirt, kids. And so I find I'm always having this conversation between wanting to go neutral and light and get that airy feeling, but then wanting it to be durable. And we can talk about that a little bit later, but the idea of how can I still have a light sofa and it be durable and not show all the mess? So what I do find is when I have clients that are maybe a little bit more open to color, because I love color. I'm not suggesting you put in a wild, bright yellow sofa unless it suits the mood of the home. But we are currently designing a home right now where the clients are so concerned about their kids and making a mess, and we're doing a big sectional, just like we talked about. And so we're going to go with a color. We're doing a deeper navy, almost like a denim. And so that feels almost like a neutral to me. And what I'm seeing, at least right now as we're recording this, is the trends in the interior design world are leaning towards darker colors. And so it's fun to use color in a different way, have a moody home, use color in your couch, and then bring in some neutral pillows. That way you can have a neutral rug. It's always a balance. But I don't typically design using bright colored couches. It's just not really been my MO, but hey, you never know. Future could be colorful.
There you go. But you mentioned lighter colored sofas and couches and sectionals, and I think just the way fabrics have changed over the last 15 years, like polyester used to be like, I don't know, I always joke that 95% of the fabrics in most couches these days are polyester based. But I think when we were growing up, it was like my Uncle Richie's like 70s go out to the disco outfit, and it was, horrible, unbreathable, whatever. But it's just a synthetic material that's actually quite cleanable and allows people to have lighter colored things. And how much is stain resistance? Would you ever place a fabric on a couch these days, even in a high-end installation or with a higher-end client, that was not stain resistant or cleanable? My sense is that it's probably makes sense to just do it. There's so many nice fabrics that are, but maybe there's some specific fabrics like a pattern or like a certain kind of linen or a certain type of feel that a customer or client is looking for.
Yeah, that's a loaded question. You probably didn't realize it was so loaded, but to me, it feels loaded because there's this fight I find in the fabric world between the stain-resistant fabrics, the polyesters, the man-made fibers that you can pour your red wine over and it just wicks all the way off. And I've seen these demonstrations with these indoor-outdoor fabrics where nothing stains it and they can clean anything. But on the flip side of that is there's more of a European aesthetic to having natural fibers. So cotton, wool, linen, a Belgian linen, and that I do see in a certain aesthetic. If you are someone who likes a very natural vibe and you are okay with imperfections of wrinkles and you're okay with the odd scuff, those natural fibers are actually cleanable. And so I find I'm often having this conversation with my clients and trying to educate them, saying you don't have to go with the man-made fiber. You can go with a natural as long as you understand. It's like marble, right? Love the look of marble, but you have to understand that it is going to patina over time. And there are certain homeowners that really like, and I'm one of them, I love the look of natural linens. I love a natural wool. Those are really quite easy to clean. But when the wine pours on it, there's going to be a stain until you get it cleaned, right?
Yeah, there are ways to clean almost any kind of fabric. They may be unconventional. They may take a little bit more elbow grease or perhaps a paid professional, but there are ways to do it. So I love that take. That's very interesting because most people would guide you in just the direction of what would be easiest. Mm-hmm. But for the sake of design, it sounds like in certain cases, different types of materials that may not be that like crazy performance fabric that everyone's pushing these days, that those might be preferable in some cases. So I love that.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, and this is my last question. We've armed users with some ideas of how to go out and think about looking for what they want and how to define what they want before they go shopping. And I wondered, what are some places that you like to send your clients to go shopping, or that you will shop for your clients? And I think a lot of interior designers, like there's at least in our world in the industry, like there's a stigma attached where designers work with custom furniture only. But maybe there are some large retailers or even small mom and pop retailers that you work with. And if these are regional people, maybe it doesn't make any sense to name names. But what kinds of places do you send your clients, and where do you shop for them for couches?
So this is a great question. I, like many interior designers, we do design a lot of custom furniture. I'm also located in Canada, and so it's a little bit different. We don't have the same access to the retailers that you do down south of the border. So we do a lot of custom, and I would say that is our go-to, is to design a custom couch and have it made, COM, customer's own materials. So we will select the fabric, and then we will have the couch made. That said, there are times when it doesn't make sense to do custom or the budget isn't there. And it's funny, I was just in High Point Market, which is High Point Furniture Market, is where a lot of retailers and designers go to see all the different wholesalers and companies. And it was really neat to see that there's such an incredible amount. And that's what you share. Like, you share all the resources way more than I do and where you can go shopping for a couch. Because for me, I can say that what I would do is I would go to Crate & Barrel, to be honest. In Canada, we don't have a ton of options. Maybe a Crate & Barrel. There's other local regional stores here that will bring some of those wholesale products to their stores. But when I was down at High Point, I realized there is so much choice for Americans when it comes to couch shopping, which is why I love what you're doing, because it's dizzying, to be honest, all the options. I don't even know if I had the beauty and the wonder and the opportunity to be designing homes in the US, I would just be overwhelmed with choices. I would be so excited. Oh my gosh, I get to shop. I get to go to this place and that place. And that wasn't even an option before. Because the other thing that I will say, so that people don't think, oh, she's a designer, she does custom, it can be limiting sometimes to do custom, because our custom suppliers in the city of Toronto where I live, they are not doing volume. Any custom house is not doing volume. And so there are certain things that I see, like a curved metal detail or a show wood base or certain aspects, or maybe it's just the shape of the sofa back. In order to get that made custom, it is going to cost so much more money than if I just buy that sectional or that couch that I saw at the retailer. And so there is a lot to be said for finding great suppliers that do sell direct to the public, because sometimes you can get really great design that if you were to have it made custom, it would be 3-4 times the price.
Wow. That's a really interesting point. And I like what you said about the myriad amount of options available in the US, and it can be very dizzying. And that is why Couch.com exists, whereas it's like analysis paralysis. When you don't know where to start, you don't know where to go. Whereas in Canada, all you have to do is you just start walking with your snowshoes, and as far as they take you, that you'll probably only get to one store, is what you're saying. I think that's what I heard.
Basically, when I leave my igloo in the morning, I usually find one furniture store. And that's after hiking for miles or kilometers, as we say up here.
Yeah, kilometers. Yeah. I don't know anything about kilometers, but it sounds pretty far. Rebecca, thank you so much for being with us and sharing your insight. This is incredibly valuable. We hit all of our marks, and I genuinely appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.